Good evening. Today is the third day of April 2023, and I'm delighted that you tuned in tonight for the Hamilton Report. Wow, what a week it's been, and what a week this one is shaping up to be. We're going to take a hard look at all of that on tonight's Hamilton Report. Welcome to my favorite half hour of the week. This is a time that I really enjoy spending time with you folks, looking at what's going on in the world around us. And tonight's going to be no exception to that. That's exactly what we're going to do this evening. I'm going to ask, just so that I have a sense of where folks are, if you don't mind to drop in the chat the city that you're calling from. That would be helpful to me. I just like to know where everyone is from. And we're going to leave the comments open all throughout this show. So feel free. This is your program. And I want you to feel free to jump in at any point. Well, one of the biggest things that's happened since you and I were together last week, and I want to say just parenthetically, thank you so much to Aaron Baker, who was my guest last week. Just a phenomenal teacher, and we're working with him now to get him scheduled to come back to us because he has a lot more to share. So we'll be doing that. But one of the biggest things that's happened since last Monday, of course, is the indictment of the former president. And this was no surprise to anyone. The outrage of people on the right, the handstands from people on the left. I just want to remind us that this is a tragedy. Like you, I'm sure, I've been thrilled that he finally got indicted for something, and maybe the Teflon has truly worn off of him. But it is a sad day for our country because we're in uncharted territory. I want to look at what one person had to say. And these are the ladies from The View, and they tee this up just right.
So, needless to say, the indictment has outraged Republicans and right-wing media, and no one's taking this harder than Senator Lindsey Graham. Watch.
They're trying to destroy Donald Trump because they fear him at the ballot box. To the conservatives out there, make sure you vote. If you got friends, make sure they vote. If you don't have any friends, go make some friends. But you need to help this man, Donald J. Trump, give the president some money to fight this. This is going to destroy America.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot there. Now, as we all know, the last president has claimed over and over and over to be one of the richest people in the world, a billionaire. So why is it that he is appealing to the base of his base to give him more money for his legal fees? If you're a billionaire, you can afford to do that on your own. But it's just so interesting that after Lindsey got all twisted over January 6th and then hit the next plane out of there to go kiss the ring at Mar-a-Lago, and now he's actually shilling for the former president, begging for money. Now, if that sounds a little bit familiar, take a look at this clip and you'll understand why that may be the case.
Giving, beginning with Jesus himself, out of their private means. Some of you little precious ones have that little grocery money, some of that little money set aside. Assure tonight the blessings of God on your family by giving it to God and speaking that. Say it, God, this is for blessings on my family.
We all remember Jan Crouch and her talking about send your little grocery money in tonight for a blessing. That's basically the same thing that Ladybug Graham is doing, and it's pathetic. It truly is pathetic that he's groveling this way. Um, but we're in a situation, like I said, that this is a challenge for our country. I have read over and over and over and over how this is simply unprecedented. Well, his actions were unprecedented, and this is our new normal. I think because finally people are tired of people pretending to be above the law, and Lord, we cannot afford for anyone to think that they're above the law. And that means a former president. It means sitting legislators who have yet to have their voting taken away from them, but are under indictment. And they've been charged with felonies. This is not a good thing when people start to believe that they are above the law. And several of the lawmakers have tried to get out of their legal troubles just by saying, "Do you know who I am?" That doesn't go anywhere, especially given the number of people and the tentacles of the absolute filth that has been portrayed in our government, and is still being. I mean, look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. Wow, what a traitor! And she's going to be in New York tomorrow protesting Trump's indictment. Well, good for you, lady. I hope you get a chance to meet some real Brooklynites, and you'll be on your way back to wherever it is you're from soon enough. I'm not wishing harm. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that she needs a reality check, as do so many people. The sad part is that if all you do is get your news from Fox News, you don't see any culpability here. You don't understand. And probably until you saw Lindsey Graham crying on TV like it was a local telethon, then you wouldn't have even known that the former president was indicted. When I say it's a big deal, it is a big deal. Think about the office of the presidency or the office of the governor, or there are so many more that should be earning the respect of the people who put them there every single day, working for Oklahomans, working for Americans. And I will say that I am particularly proud of the Biden administration, the transparency that they have used through Build Back Better and the American Rescue Plan. So much has gone into helping everyday working Americans. And I'm so grateful for that, because President Biden does earn my respect every day, as have many other presidents, including maybe even a Republican in that mix. But to think that we, the highest office of our land, can be denigrated in such a way that we are still talking about a porn star after all these years. I like the saying, when you do the right thing is done. Not original to me. That came to me through my husband, and I think from my mother-in-law to my husband. But it's so true. When you do the right thing is done, and you don't have to watch everything around you and be looking in the rearview mirrors who may be coming after you next. This is not a witch hunt. This is not a witch hunt. This is justice. No, this is not tearing down the rule of law. It's upholding the rule of law. I don't understand the logic of so-called learned people when it comes to discussing these things. They just boil down into a heap of mush. And it's very frustrating to me that we can't even have an adult conversation around this. But there'll be plenty of time for adult conversations. So I'm thinking like after the Georgia grand jury indicts or the investigation into January 6th, there'll be plenty more times that we'll have a chance to talk about this. But I would just encourage all of us to not celebrate this action for its own sake. Celebrate that no one is above the law. Celebrate that justice is being done. I would be very happy if I never had to hear that man's name or ever see his orange face ever again. Sadly, I don't think any of us is going to be quite quite favored that way. Janet, thank you so much. Yeah, how can anybody forget Bobert? That's a knucklehead. That is a knucklehead. And I'm just going to leave that right there. How dare they accuse Trump of an affair with a porn star and cooking his books to cover it up? Doesn't sound like him. Thank you, Mitch, for the levity, because it sounds very much like him. What's interesting is that we have not heard a word from Melania, and I don't expect that we will, except when she says au revoir or arrivederci or whatever it is she says as she leaves the compound there in Florida. I'm going to switch gears now without so much as a segue, but we have to spend some time this evening, even if for a moment, to recognize another school shooting last week. Before I even talk about that, I just want to mention that there were 3 different shootings that occurred in Oklahoma City Friday night. One was in a bar. 3 people were killed. 3 people were critically injured because of gun violence. Outside of another club, the bouncer had thrown some people out. They came back and shot him multiple times. And then there was another shooting also that occurred in Oklahoma City this weekend. This is common. We've become deaf to these stories, I'm afraid, because we hear them so frequently. But I was thinking how best to describe the number of children that are killed by gunfire every year. And we all know it's a horrible thing. We know that school shootings are regular occurrences now, but it takes more than just school shootings to reach a number of 49,000 dead children. To put that in perspective, fill up a major college football stadium, like at OU, for example. Fill that up. Take away half of the people, and that's how many children have died in the last 12 months as a result of guns. No, I am not suggesting that we give up our guns. I'm not suggesting that the government tries to do anything like that. But why? And I've asked this question and I've received not one compelling answer. Why do we need military-grade assault weapons in the hands of citizens? We don't. I'm tired of walking into Walmart and seeing people with long guns strapped across their shoulders. This is not the place we need to be. It's time for some very common sense gun laws. And we can have guns and protect the Second Amendment without resorting to just letting everybody have a gun that wants a gun. Quietly after the shooting at the school last week, Ron DeSantis in private signed an open carry bill so anyone can carry now in the state of Florida. So I expect to see a lot more Florida man headlines, and I'm not excited about what those may reveal, because we are to a place now that, friends, we must reckon with the fact that we just don't need these military weapons. Mary, thank you. Why? Exactly. Military weapons are the things that scare police. Absolutely. And now, Mitch, red flag laws have been outlawed in Oklahoma. Red flag laws are not meant to be the end all be all, but they certainly help. If you believe that someone is a threat to themselves or to someone else, we have a red flag law. Of course, you can also buy a gun at a local gun show, and that happens, it seems like every weekend in bigger cities in Oklahoma. We have got to reckon with a problem. And Congress is not going to act on their own. All of the Oklahoma representation, and I'm using the biggest air quotes in the world, because our senators, Our elected representatives who go to Washington do not represent Oklahoma. They represent the gun lobbies. They represent themselves. They represent their churches. They represent everyone except for the people who elected them there. Okay, so what do we do? What do we do? Do we just throw up our hands and walk away and say, yeah, my vote is not going to impact whether or not we have another president who defies the law at every turn? Well, believe me, it does do that, because the votes that put President Biden in the White House have changed the trajectory that this country was on in a positive way. So yes, our votes do matter, but it's more. It's more than just voting. We have to be consistent in reaching out to our elected representatives and senators, as Alicia points out here. I don't know how many times I've heard from these people and I've been told, well, nobody called us to say they didn't like it. Okay, it's time that we all make ourselves known, that we all speak very clearly to, and it doesn't matter to me whether you are represented by one person or who's a Republican and one person who's a Democrat. It doesn't matter. Call them all. If they're all Republicans, call them. They have to log the calls, and therefore it will be known what people are concerned with, what people are complaining about. Do you remember the old line, I'm mad as hell and I'm not taking it anymore? Well, that's kind of where I am. I can't be silent, and I'm so I'm just at such a crossroads personally. When we look at medical marijuana, which you would think would have been a big draw for younger people to come out and vote, the percentage was tiny of the people who voted. And Angela, if you have that specific number, if you could put that up. I don't remember the number, but it was very, very low. And so we have younger people who could be impacting and shaping the outcome of our elections. But we have to do a better job of demonstrating the power of the vote, the power of involvement. And that means at every turn. That means every school board, every town council, every county seat. These people do not get to work for us forever without being admonished, without being held responsible. And so I am asking you, please, to reach out, like Lindsey Graham said, if you don't have any friends, go make some so they can support Trump. Well, I have a better idea. Gather up and encourage them to vote. Encourage them to pay attention to what's going on, because politics is at every level of our lives, whether we like it or not. The Supreme Court, as we saw last year, in one simple moment, took away a right that had been given 50 years before, just wrote it out of existence. The same thing can happen to each of us. Please get involved and stay involved. And I know it can feel like a lonely process. That's why it's so important that you engage with people who are like-minded at your county level, your precinct level, the state level. Because when we start to see that even in our big tent, we have different opinions, different personalities, but we can all work together for good. That's a very empowering thing. And I had the pleasure of being in Caddo County a couple of weeks ago. In the evening, we were talking about planning their state convention, their county convention, to reestablish them. And what I saw were people who were just tired. They're tired of a police department that uses rotating pay by the hour people to enforce the law in their town. And so they want to have more of a say in what goes on around them. But when it's one person, it's hard. When we come together in groups, it's a whole lot easier. Lisa, I appreciate you sharing this. Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Great, strong group that I'm so proud of the work that they do. Carol Aseo is very, very much involved with them. And she is one of our great volunteers here in the office each week. So there are other groups that you can involve yourself with. I certainly want you to be a part of the Oklahoma Democratic Party, but I'm saying that there are other groups. There are groups at the university level. There are groups, professional societies, where you can come to be around people who think like you and people who you have an opportunity to discuss truth with and opinions and let people know where you stand and what you're concerned about, what you're afraid of. In Oklahoma, what's gotten more attention in our legislature this year than anything else? Well, bodily autonomy for one thing, but more even than that is banning drag queens, banning drag shows. If that's all we've got to help the people of Oklahoma, then God help us all. There are more important things to be looking at, dealing with, legislating about than the nonsense that they pass off every day at 23rd and Lincoln. Now, there are some great dedicated legislators. Almost all of them have a D next to their name. And they fight hard, but they need all of us. And I want to just take a look at this comment. I get it. Seek out like-minded people and try to grow and influence others. That's it. That's the bottom line. When we can have adult conversations, then we need to be doing that. And I'll tell you something. As for people who watch Fox News 24 hours a day, you're not going to change their mind. Simply go on to the next one and start afresh, because there comes a time when you just have to count your losses and choose your battles, because we're not going to convince everyone. But I don't think Oklahomans are stupid people. They make some big mistakes sometimes, like electing Ryan Walters to be the superintendent of public instruction, who is working every day to destroy public instruction in favor of his voucher scheme. And now there's a lot of scrutiny over his de facto chief of staff, who does not even live in Oklahoma. That's a violation of law. But again, he doesn't seem to care. Well, we have to let him know that we know it's a violation of law. You see what I'm saying? The progression of this is when we call people out, make it stick. When we are concerned about something, then we have to share that, to galvanize people. And this is great news. I'd love to hear this. My youngest registered to vote today turns 18 next week. That's really terrific. Thank you for sharing that, because we love young people being registered to vote in Oklahoma. We need those registrations, and mainly we need to have them voting. How do we do that? We lead by example. We lead by example. Friends, I'm going to sum up tonight by asking you to do this. Look around you. What doesn't feel right to you? Assault rifles? School vouchers? Elected officials running amok and doing things their own way? There's something we can do about that. All of that. But it's going to take all of us. So this is my appeal. Commit to calling your legislators this week. Find something that they're talking about and either give them a attaboy or say, I can't support this, and tell them why. But unless we reach them, unless we speak up and stand tall and be proud Democrats, we touched on that last week. We have to not be whispering Democrats. We have to be loud and clear, talking about, I am a Democrat, and this is why, because I care about people. I care about the future of Oklahoma. I care about so many things that my legislator doesn't. So I am going to let you know what I care about, and I expect you to listen. This is down ballot voting is a curse. I don't think it's down ballot voting that's a curse so much, Alicia, as it is straight party ticketing. That is a big problem here. People don't pay attention to issues or people. They simply look at who their D column is and who their R column is, and that's how they vote. Well, friends, I hope that I've encouraged you tonight to make those calls this week. And we can't stop. We can't stop. And I'm also saying this: you have support. I'm not just asking you to call and give support or guidance to legislators. I'm letting you know that you have support. We are every day lifting up the things that you're concerned about, and we're making our voice heard, because not everyone can do so publicly, and I understand that. But if you are strong enough to do that, then check out our Facebook page. Visit our website, okdemocrats.org, real easy one. See what we're talking about, and then engage with people that you're talking to, because we need all of us. If we're going to have a future for our children and our grandchildren, we need to be working right now. I so appreciate you joining us this evening. Always a pleasure. And I hope that you'll want to consider at least sharing this broadcast on your own social media page, because the more people that hear our messages, the better the chance of us having a brighter future. I hope that you'll join us next Monday evening at 6:30. Until then, take good care of yourself. On behalf of all of us at the Oklahoma Democratic Party, I'm Scott J. Hamilton, thanking you for joining us. Good night.